I woke up to something crazy for me. Um, I recently posted a little video, like short one, just ranting about some stuff, and it got 32 views and 7 real comments in a couple hours. Actually, I think I can share a screenshot that I took real quick. Dunk. Yeah. I'm like, I know that's like nothing, right? But that's very unusual. That's a really big outsider metric. Um, Either the algo decided to change the rules, or it had something to do with the fact that I posted it also as a standalone on my Substack. I'm going to keep doing that because I like engagement. And I want to share another thing, and this is really the meat of this video. Oh, goodness. OBS is not good at this. I guess I have to make it kind of big. It's going to cover my face. Yeah. Okay, the guy says, I'm not sure whether most people are oblivious. Honestly, you should talk to some people. I know it's hard. I'm surprised every time by how much other people know. Perhaps not a lot, but a lot more than I expected. Okay, just quick aside there. I don't think people are grossly uninformed. It's just that they've been professionally misinformed. And context matters. And interpretation matters. It's really insert Prussian school system rant here. You know, people know things, but that's not what I mean. Okay, so also it's impossible to know your filter bubble. Sort of. I mean, yes, brain in a jar. I have no way of knowing if I'm a brain in a jar. So in a strict absolute sense, you're right. But these bubbles are leaky, and I would have indications of things. There's data you can gather. The human experience, like take vision, for example. Vision is super narrow in terms of EM spectrum, right? We're literally blind to most forms of light, air quotes. Radio, X-rays, gamma. That's why we have all these weird different kinds of telescopes. That's why we don't have night vision. It's why water does what it does, why color exists, but yet we know that there's other stuff. And this is kind of like that. It's like, yeah, I'm blind to some things, but like I said earlier, it's a welding goggle. I know that there's stuff there. So it's not impossible in this context. It's like, technically you're right, and that's the, best form of correct. But, no, not really. I'm kind of aware of my filter bubble. There's probably a lot of things you're missing out on, no doubt. I'm sure worldview or the information you know about the world and current ongoing things are far above average. Even above informed people, yes. But you are missing out on understanding possibly people, how they think, feel, what makes them tick. I strongly disagree with that. Okay, what I'm about to say applies to anyone who has seen 3 documentaries, like these 3 specific documentaries. There's the Century of the Self series by Adam Curtis. There's this one I just discovered like last week called Human Resources. And I'm not even done watching that one yet, but it didn't have new stuff in it for me, really. But anyway, it's a really good sum up of stuff. So I'm adding it to this list forever. And the other one is actually kind of it's marketed as like a conspiracy video, but it really isn't. What makes it really interesting is not the JFK stuff, but the historical analysis stuff. It's called JFK 9/11, JFK to 9/11, everything's a rich man's trick. And it's got problems, okay? But it talks about how World War II is basically just an extension of industrialist seizure of the world. You know, they basically hired a country to try and take over the world. That's the premise that this guy has. And, you know, right or wrong, it's super informative. And all three of these things really give a good overview education in people, how they think, what makes them tick. And I feel like that this is the biggest lie of fiction, is they'll present false reactions and false psychologies. I think that I have a better idea about how people tick than most people do. And I think that the idea that because I'm not swimming in them, I therefore must know them less is actually backwards. If anything, I feel like my detachment allows me to see them more clearly. It's like the difference between visiting an uncontacted tribe and watching it from a drone. Now, granted, I get that that's a bad analogy because you will obviously get more data on the ground, but you will also get heavily distorted data because you're screwing with the thing that you are viewing. And also emotions are a factor. Like having a whole bunch of friends that I personally deeply care about will cause me to lean in directions that make them more favorable than they should be. You know, like you give people a pass when they're your friend when you shouldn't. It's kind of like having a nice cop neighbor. You know, that will influence how you feel about cops. Only he's not nice. He's merely polite. You know, and there's also a little bit of fear going on, shaping your thing there, because you know that this cop, if he decides to shoot you on live stream, he'll get away with it. If you know anything about the world, right, and politics and how these things play out in the statistics. So knowing that guy and letting the friendliness influence and letting the beat 'em, join 'em fear influence, you see what I'm saying? Being close to people distorts your view of them more than it informs them, unless you're doing straight up sociology experiments to break them down. So there's all that. And also I want to read my reply. I hope you're right, but I see no evidence other than this comment. And I say that because I didn't expect strangers to comment on this video. You know, this is my first video to get meaningful engagement. That may not be strictly true. I posted I've posted other things, but for the purposes of this situation, it is true. And certainly this era. I can only assume the algo decided to promote it or not bury it for some reason, either here or on Substack. I lived in a party house from 17 to like 30. And that's true. What happened was my mom lost her vision in her right eye and lost her nursing career. She had an insurance claim to replace it, but they cheated her and sent her a letter one month instead of a check out of nowhere. So she had to sue, and it was really egregious, and she had tons of documentation, and she won. And when they won, they got what basically the lump sum of her package there. And it would have been over a long time. I mean, they did it way early. So she ended up getting like 75% of what she was owed all at once, and no punitive, you know, typical corporate nonsense. And this is before, you know, houses were priced like solid gold. So what happened was she bought the houses to either side of the one I grew up in and she lived in. So they moved and basically gave me a house. Rather than buy me a car, they bought me a house, effectively. And that's where I live now. But you can imagine what happens when you give a 17-year-old a house. Nobody else has a house. Everyone in town came here, basically. Everyone in my peer group and about a third of all the people that they knew showed up pretty much over time, over years. And that was the best. I mean, it's such an amazing experience. It really needs to be the norm. I mean, resources permitting. I learned so much. And I made what I thought were really good friends, and I did. I have a couple left, right? But they're not that's a whole other thing. The point is, I've had a lot of contact with the people in my local area of my age group. I mean, thousands over years. Seriously, thousands. Everybody knew me just because. But as it went away, because of course, as they aged, as they got their own cars and got their own places and married and had kids and everything, you know, life happens. People dissolve. So my point is, lots and lots of people. Also, yeah, I spent 2 weeks on a train going from the East Coast to Texas. And if you've ever ridden Amtrak a long distance, you know that it does not fly like a plane. That trip, which should have been, you know, it was multiple connections, and it went through Chicago. So it's a big U-shape thing as it goes from hub to hub to hub, because the rail situation in America is abysmal. I mean, it's a joke. It's scary, and I'll never do it again. Not because of the people or the time. That was actually fine. The problem was the condition of the track, man. Some of those bridges were scary. And when my trip was over, less than a month after my trip, there were two high-profile civilian derailments. So it was like, yeah, never again. And like I said, I did have jobs. I worked I was body president of my college. And that was highly social. I wouldn't have gotten elected if I didn't know a bunch of people. Also, my work study job for the 2 or 3 years I was there was I was at the help desk in what they called the Learning Assistance Center. Yeah, LAC. And I managed all the computers. Like I was kind of the interface between the IT people upstairs and the computers on the ground floor. And also that entailed a lot of personal interactions. I was helping people with PowerPoint assignments. I was basically troubleshooting. I was the guy that sat in the lab and was there to answer questions for 3 years. So I talked to a lot of people about a lot of stuff. What else? But yeah, you do have a point though. The world is different than it was. And I mean, substantially world-changing. COVID, 9/11, different kinds of, different, people. And there wasn't a genocide happening, and a lot of the net wasn't as developed. So people weren't as informationally connected, and we didn't have live streaming, and we didn't have smartphones really. A lot of this data is stale. I will absolutely grant that. And I would love to get more, exposure. But still, I think on the whole, my comments now and then, in this video hold. But you do make a good point, and I really say thanks for the comment. And just thanks for reading and watching and commenting. I mean, it's really amazing. I have another one to look at here. I guess I should just screenshot it and do like I did the other one. Well. Okay, I also need to make the... Bro, society pisses me off. Mood. Yeah, I've spoken to this guy before. He's awesome. Nobody knows what the real fight should be. I certainly agree. And me to an extent too. I mean, I don't know specifically exactly what to do, but I mean, there are some pretty clear moral urgencies about stuff we need to do immediately. Like I was saying, genocide and billionaires, pretty easy targets. To fight something, however, they are too dumb, uneducated, lazy, psychopathic, etc. To fight. I mean, there's some sharpness there. I wouldn't lean into, but yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's obviously an array. It's not one thing. You know, it's like when you call people evil, it shuts down thought. Um, um, Scoot this down. So I guess, is that better? uh, okay. I don't know where I was going with that fighting with OBS and my ignorance of it is a problem. But powers that be just want us fighting, so we ignore shit they do. Yes, yeah. The meme of the rich guy with the MAGA and the blue hair in the terrarium fighting. You know, they got you fighting a culture war to avoid fighting a class war. That's totally true. You know, divide and conquer, and that kind of goes back to the previous comment. The guy was like, you know, you don't know what people know, and you'd be surprised. And it's like, well, if more people knew that, the culture war wouldn't be as effective. You know, people would be less interested in that nonsense. But no, it's people don't really know that. On the whole, they don't understand. I mean, they still think voting is real. They think the government's real. They believe what they see on the TV, more or less. Granted, trust has been wounded recently, but man, that's not common knowledge by any stretch of the imagination. It might be a trope that's kind of recent among people that are interested in politics, but just from the fact that we don't have strikes and protests and disruptions and things, it's like you can tell what people don't know. So yeah. Where are we? Yeah, they don't care what we fight about or for. That's true. It's about the only thing I am certain of, so long as it keeps us out of their outhouses. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't see any indication that they're even really worried about us. Like, they have gated communities and security. Yeah, but they're not. The only one I even know of that went to a bunker, that is working on a bunker, is Zuckerberg. And you'd expect them to all be really, really visibly, obviously worried, and they're not. And nor should they be, you know, until I'm proven wrong by people waking up and doing stuff and caring, you know, no. Just hope America wakes up before it becomes too late. Yeah, there's not going to be some grand awakening prior to the singularity. If humanity wakes up, it will be because AI decided to wake us up. That will pretty much be it, because we've had, you know, thousands of years to wake up and hundreds under civilization, and, you know, 50 with the internet, telescopic nature of evolutionary time. But at the same time, I mean, you know, it's mileage, not years. You know, it's like we should have woke up before now. Just happen to miss the social engineering train. Yeah, that'll do it. Slightly different worldview. Thanks. I just don't care about it as much. Yeah, yeah. Like I said in the rant, caring and obsession. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just obsessed, right? Suit and tie, yeah. Oh, I know it's gonna be shit. Gosh, like, yeah, it's true. Yeah, we're gonna. I mean, I guess I can't really say for certain, but the existence of the genocide already proves that true. I mean, really, there's no this kind of is a philosophical thing too. You know, a lot of people cling to a religion because they're like, they think that some kind of follow-up context will make what's happened so far okay. I disagree. I don't care if there's heaven and hell or a god or whatever. You can't fix what's done. It's done. That's kind of the problem. I actually wrote a short story a long time ago about super advanced future civilization going back in time and plucking people out and replacing them with highly indistinguishable, like replicants that didn't suffer but acted it out as a way to correct that problem. Now, short of some kind of situation like that where you're really fixing things, you know, going back and undoing deep injustices, and there's some logical problems there. Like, you can't really do that. You know, it's hard to it's fun to mess with. That's why I wrote the story. And I suck as a writer, and the story sucks, but the concept was awesome, I thought. So yeah, we're eating the shit sandwich right now. Granted, it may be worse or better in the future. That will not invalidate that statement. That statement is absolutely accurate, period. We tons and tons, I mean, for over centuries, inexcusable things have happened, and there's no fixing them and no making them okay. I am a big believer in not, like, I'm a consequentialist, right? But ends and means matter. Like, it doesn't really matter where you get in certain situations. There are moral certainties. Some stuff can never be made moral by the addition of context. And so yeah. You're a nice guy. Enjoy, man. And before anybody gets freaked out, it's legal where he lives. So, you know, just deal. And I wanted to just make a reply to all these awesome comments. I didn't expect any comments. And if I get more than that, I may make another video like this, but I won't be able to completely cover everything because I'll quickly drown. I mean, they always tell you, you know, don't look at the comments. It's like, well, that's kind of why I'm in it at the moment. Thanks again for watching. I guess I'll title this one the same as the other one and be like part 2. We'll see how that goes.